Znarf. Play a classical Sicilian here. Oh, the delayed Bowdler attack. Not bad. It's actually unlike the Bowdler attack, which the bishop comes out here before you've played d6. The delayed Bowdler waits until you play d6, and then you put the bishop there. And it's been played by some respectable players, so it's not as weak as the Bowdler attack. I think I'm going to go for a fianchetto here. So he wants to. I see. Stops me from attacks my rook and stops me from playing bishop here, which is my natural next move. So I guess I'm sort of. Yeah, I don't want to play e5, but I don't see an alternative. I could play c5. Queen could actually go to this square. No, I can't play c5. I need to protect my my rook anyway. Not an option. c5 was not an option. Okay, let's get castled. Don't really care to allow that pin. I want to be able to push this pawn forward. And then let's can't get castled here. Let's push that pawn forward. I guess this is a system Znarf has played a lot. He seems very, very practiced with it. But I think I'm holding my own here. I'm just going to castle. And now this pawn is defended by a knight. So unless he attacks it with something like a knight or a bishop, yeah, can't attack it with the bishop, only the knight could attack it. And I can bring a rook over and push this pawn forward. So he wants to take my knight. Should I kick the queen first? So after I takes the knight, then he takes the pawn, and then he's achieved his objective with this. I could just put a rook here because he's leading with the queen. So when bishop takes knight, queen takes knight, then let's unpin that knight. Next I'm going to, put some pressure on the bishop here. Yep. So he finally decided to take. I'll double my rooks. Yeah, it's really single-minded here. So let's attack this pawn. He's got the fork here. I should be wary of that. I know what I'll do. just push that pawn forward, supported by the bishop and the other pawn. So pawn forward, pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes. Yes, I can do this. Now I've got a passed pawn. What's his next trick? For his next trick, I'm going to push my a pawn, I think, for my next trick. He wants to trade queens. You know, it brings his knight into a good square. I don't know if I want to trade queens there. How about I do this? I attack the queen. He can check me here, but I can put my bishop back. If he takes me, I'll take back with the pawn, and that will restrict the movements of his knight. I'm assuming he doesn't want to go for a draw. He could try for a repetition here. He did. We'll see. I'll poke him again. He's assuming I don't want to draw, but I'm black and I'm lower rated, so a draw is fine with me. So he did back off. Okay. So push this pawn. Let's see. Knight takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes, queen takes. I guess it's still protected. I played that a little quickly. Anyway, my idea was to put my queen up here. He decides to give his king some luft. Oh, you know what I'm doing? I'm ignoring this threat here. Totally ignoring that. Well, at least I got him to think. That's my objective. Trying to force these people to think. Yeah, let's just take the rook, huh? Is he going to repeat now? He is. He's given up. All right. Let's get a new opponent here. Oh, let's play a rapid game. So I don't know. Maybe I could have won, but I view that as a moral victory. 1933. Nani 45-45. Game aborted. Okay. Let's try again. Maybe he didn't like e4. Vega 2048. Oh, got a stronger opponent. Plays the Philidor. And takes. So that's what they call surrendering the center. But there is counterattacking chances for black, so not as bad as it is rumored to be. How do I want to develop? Could I think probably I should just castle. You know, a freeing move for black is often this c5 push, and I can't really stop it. But I think I need to castle first. I mean, one idea is to push this pawn forward so the knight can come back here behind the pawns. But I want to get castled before I push that pawn. Maybe even do something else. I think I'll go ahead and do that now. It's got a very quiet setup, although we can put the bishop here poking at my queen. It might be his plan. And now, if I just retreat this knight, I would like to get a piece here and push this pawn forward. And his queen, you know, he never played the c5 move I was talking about, so his queen can't come over here and check my king. His dark squared bishop can't do that either. So he's kind of locked in behind his pawns here. Of course, he can move his knight now and attack my bishop. I'll probably drop back here. So I think avoiding trades is the right thing to do. But if I drop back my bishop first, then he can put the knight here and more or less force things. He can attack my bishop with his knight here, but then I can trade it for the bishop, and this knight will be on the rim. So he just takes. And defends that pawn. So now what? Still not threatening checks on this diagonal, although that could happen at any moment. So because you know, just pushing this pawn forward, for example, would open this diagonal up. So I'm going to just get to the side with my king. Now there's no more light squared bishop, so I could go here and develop my dark squared bishop and bring the rook over. Does that sound good? Well, that was a little bit of progress for black. He was able to engineer a peace trade. And he got rid of my dangerous light squared bishop, so I no longer have this knight move here to threaten this square with the bishop. That is all gone from the board. I'm going to centralize my other rook. He needs to move this bishop. He might be considering what's going on there, something like that. I was hitting the wrong keys. Okay, so it's a kind of pin on my knight. It's hitting this pawn. My queen was defended, so it wasn't really a pin, but so he couldn't do something like bring the knight out here and sacrifice a knight to. I would just lose a piece. We'd be able to trade queens, but he'd be losing a piece. So what now? Kind of want to step my queen to the side, though. Question is, do I have enough? Yeah, he did finally move his bishop out of the way. I thought that was going to happen. So if I go here, the E pawn has 2 defenders and 2 attackers. So it's still stable. I can't quite push it yet, can I? Push, take, knight takes, or takes. Actually, I can push it. And then his knight would go here. How would I defend it then? I need my bishop to defend it. I could kick his queen. Then bring the bishop out here. So what I'm imagining is, yeah, pawn here, pawn takes, and then it's his move, but then later I would kick this queen, it goes back, and then I'd be able to put a bishop on this square to defend this pawn. But I have to calculate a little more precisely than that, because after pawn takes, oh, he has to move the knight. That's what it is. So okay, so let's think this through again. He just gave his king a little room there, a little Luft, as the Germans say. So I push this pawn. He could just move the knight right away. But I can still kick the queen. If he trades and then moves his knight, then I kick the queen. And the queen could go somewhere here maybe, and then I bring the bishop out. I think I want to do that. Just gotta get something going here. Can't just sit on the position. Well, maybe I could, but I'm not any good at that. That's not my style, to just sit on a position. Of course, this helps him too. It opens up the center so the bishop has a line. That's why I would probably be a better player if I could learn to do things like that, sit on a position. I just recognize that when I kick the queen, it could come over here maybe, and then it would still be looking at that square, so I couldn't put the bishop there after all. Yeah. Let's see where it goes. Doesn't have too many squares. And the nice thing is that there's this battery here too. So if I move my knight with tempo, it could be very useful. Like now. Okay, I could put the bishop here. Knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes. And then he can't take it with the queen because I'll take with the rook, right? So that would defend it. But I'm wondering about this knight here. He will take, and then the queen defends there. So it's not good enough. Knight here, his knight takes it. Yeah, I need to distract that queen. Okay, well first let's defend the pawn. Knight here, his knight takes it. So these two squares, both of those squares are ruled out, I think. And now I've got a bishop in the way anyway. So he has a plan here of pushing this pawn and putting the bishop here on this diagonal, and then he can kind of round up my pawn there. So I need something. Maybe knight here to here. Oh, he's going to double with the rook. Not doubling. He's actually defending this pawn with his rook. Pretty far-sighted. Okay, so knight here. Pawn takes, bishop takes. And the rook has to go back. Okay, if I had a knight here, and he took the pawn, I took back, he took, I took, queen takes. Probably I put the knight here, he takes the pawn. No, I want to go knight here check, but that takes 2 moves. I want to go knight here check while this pawn is still on the board defending. You know, oh no, his knights are good defenders there, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna do this. He might just push a pawn, but then his knight is weakened. Yeah, I'll do this. And then I will, well, depending on what he plays. If he plays b6 to keep me from going to c5, then I will play c4 and then bring my knight in behind it and then jump up here. And if he plays b5 to kick my knight, I'll probably just go to c5 and allow the trade. Well, Vega is using his time, so that's good. Yeah, b6, that's what I was expecting, keep me out of c5. So I play here. Then my knight can come in here and go here, hitting his rook. Removing a defender from f7. hitting the c-pawn too. Yep. His rook is trapped there. Yeah, I think he should have gone with a different plan. I think he should have done this pawn push and bishop here plan rather than trying to double his rooks. So he stepped the queen out of the way. Oh, hitting my bishop. Yeah, so now he's threatening to take here and take here. Let's see, if I go here, I protect my bishop and hit the queen. So what does he do? It takes, I take. Then knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, queen takes, queen takes. Yeah, he has enough force there to win that one. So there's some other intermediate move I can play here. Well, so knight here, knight takes, queen takes. Then he's going to take here with a knight. At that point, I could jump this knight somewhere, hitting his rook and hitting this pawn. Let's do that. There's also my rook looking at his queen there, potentially. Could be something. Yeah, but I had to defend my bishop first. That was the critical one. Then we'll think about it in this position. What does he have? He can take the pawn. I can play knight to d5, hitting the rook and the pawn, or I could move my bishop, hitting his queen. If I take the knight, though, the queen could take back. So, oh, but then I could take the queen with the rook. So actually, yeah, knight takes pawn, bishop takes might actually work, because if queen takes bishop, I'll take the queen. So it's like a rook and a bishop for the queen. So the queen moved out of the way. Now I can jump in here with this knight. And if this rook moves forward, I can go here, forking the two rooks. Or maybe the idea of pushing this pawn forward at some point too. That's common theme. But I don't know if it's really working here to do much. I don't know what it does here. It does open up this diagonal, but if he just pushes or takes, would open up this file, the F file. Oh, and I do have knight here. Let's see. But he takes, I take. Yeah, he takes the rook here. Probably not good. No good. So I think the main threat is just taking on c7 or taking his rook. I don't see how he meets both those threats. But he may have some kind of counterattack thingy. If he could get his bishop here, that could be a problem. Makes me glad my king is not on this square anymore. That would introduce tactical possibilities for black. Yeah, that little safety move, moving the king to the side, sometimes worth a lot. So I could go ahead and take here because that's with check. Then I should I could just step up here, get off the dark squares, and let's see, when he moves the knight, that's with tempo, but I can retreat my queen or take the pawn if he takes a pawn. He might be going, his idea might be to put his knight here, threatening this pawn. Yeah, maybe I'll just step back. Now he does have bishop here, but it's not defended. If he pushes his pawn forward, watch out for that tactic. But yeah, he had his idea pushing the pawn. And I see another thing I didn't notice at first. His rook and his, his rook and his queen are coordinating on this square. So let's block the queen. And then oppose his rook. My queen is defending here. That was fortuitous. So yeah, I want to put the rook here. He can still move his knight in there. Isn't that annoying? Isn't that annoying? So I moved his rook to the side. Interesting. So now, what? Now what? Queen here, queen takes. Oh, no, I don't have it defended. Can't play that. Look here. How about pawn forward? And my king is pretty exposed. Just step up with the king and see what his play is. I can kick that knight. Maybe that's what I should do. I want to do this while I thought I had control over these squares. Oh, I had moved that rook to the side. Anyways, queen defends it there. So that was not good. Going to attack that knight and try and chase it out of there. Queen hits the pawn and looks into my camp there. But I had already planned to play this rook move anyway. So now I could take. But I think I'd rather get rid of the bishop. So I control these squares where the knight hops in. or the queen might come. So I think I can kick the knight again. Let's see, he can take this pawn. Ah, knight here. Didn't see that until after I played the move, but anyway, maybe I have something here. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Actually a pawn up. Ah, so he's going to go for the endgame. Oh, he just defended this pawn. Interesting. I would have brought my rook in pretty instinctively to attack, yeah. So, it's the best way to do this. Here, I can defend this pawn, but he can take this one and march this one down. And it's a little closer than mine. His pawns are closer to queening than mine are. Now let's do this anyway. I'll put my rook behind him. Okay, if I bring my rook over, my king over, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'll have to move this rook here at the last minute. Then he can go after these pawns. Oh, I probably should have stepped up so he didn't get a check here. Yeah. Yeah. I think I blew it. I lost this endgame. Oh, that's sad. Good play. Good play, my man. Yeah, I'm just one step short. Hey, let's take a minute. Let's back up to see if I was actually winning in the endgame. So boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very tough endgame to play. It's his turn. Plus 1.5, so I am still with the advantage, and he should have come in here. I should play here. Take the pawn. He came in here. I stepped up. He went there. I went there. He went here. Okay. And then my plan was wrong. Oh, I took there. That was good. He pushed. And then what should I do? I should push here. Anyway, yeah, so my plan with bringing the king over didn't work. I needed more time to really count that out. My idea was to hold on to this pawn with my king to stop these from coming forward with my rook, and then push these while his king stayed confined. But I just didn't have time to do all that, even though I was winning. So let's see. I want to look at one other point. It was right here when I played this move. Yeah, it's still just a +2 advantage. Suddenly it's -4. What's my move here? Queen d3. Yeah, just don't allow the fork. Keep control over this square. He takes the pawn. Ah, and then I can bring my rook in. So that's the best way to play that there. Anyway, some interesting games there. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye now.